So thank you everyone for the opportunity. My name is Shah. I started my career actually in accounting and quickly realized I didn't like accounting. Moved into investment banking, worked in venture capital, and that's where I got my first idea in the med tech space, AI genetics. We started the company October 2019. We had our own genomics lab, 20,000 square feet in Mississauga. We provide genetic testing for cardiopulmonary pediatrics. And thanks to COVID-19, we were able to scale that business very quickly. And a larger company, Ascenda Scientific, is acquiring our business with the intention to take the overall company public Q4 of next year. Over the summer, I was staying at a vacation rental, and my girlfriend actually approached me and said, you know, we're doing all the work, right? And that's a problem that a lot of people have when they're traveling and staying at a vacation rental. You know, there's no housekeeping, there's no service, there's no amenities. You're basically there and you're kind of staying there. And sometimes it feels like you're there for a long period of time. It doesn't feel like a vacation rental anymore. It almost feels like you're doing all the work, right? So I took this opportunity and reached out to people in my network. And being an analytics guy, I always want to ask myself, well, you know, how big of a problem is this really? Who else is having this problem, right? And what are people in the industry doing to solve this problem, right? So those were the two questions that I had in my mind. And the numbers that really stood up for me were as follows, that really captured my attention. Through COVID-19, short-term rentals operated at over 70% occupancy versus hotels, which was under 30% occupancy, right? So clearly the market, there's a shift in, you know, perception towards, leaning towards now short-term rentals. And the second number was, you know, I took a look at, you know, existing competition, seeing what they were doing, you know, Airbnb, Sonder, which just went public this year, Vacasa went public. And, you know, the common theme that we saw was, although real estate was important to have, you know, one of the feedback they always got was, you know, there's no service, right? It's just, you're just providing the real estate and it's a place to crash, but there's nothing else to it. So if we move on to the next slide, what the next thing I did was, you know, I started, the goal was to go out and get advisors, and they loved the idea so much of having a luxury short-term rental experience that's fully automated using technology. Next slide. That we were able to actually onboard, you know, a big team. So the problem that we're solving is, you know, people are disadvantaged by today's short-term rentals. You know, there's no amenities, there's no personalization, there's no quality control. So the next thing I did was I created our team. And so moving on to the next slide. You know, if you look at the accomplishments of the players, the first guy I was able to bring onto the team was Jazz Berlin. Jazz built out Airbnb's luxury real estate area. So he had his own company called Luxury Retreats, which he sold to Airbnb for $300 million. And why he was very excited to join our team as our chief marketing officer was because the intention for Airbnb to acquire Luxury Retreats was because they wanted to start offering the white glove service across all their properties. They actually experimented that in 2019 or 2018 rather in California. The problem that they faced was that you can't just offer a white glove service to any property and just scale it, right? You also need to tie it to the real estate. And so they canned the project and they realized that, you know what, we're a platform for real estate and we're just gonna stick with that. That's what Airbnb said. So Jazz was fully on board with what we were doing, and he was able to join our team. My other two co-founders, Gurjinder Minhas, he's a real estate developer and he also is a hospitality guy. So he understands the impact of, you know, short-term rentals and where the market is moving. Our rockstar CTO, Jolene Reed, she's a venture capitalist with Sandpiper Ventures. She invests into women-led entrepreneurs. And she worked with Masterbuilt, which is Canada's largest hospitality group. So those are my two co-founders. And then I was able to add more to the team. Bonnie Rao just joined us this month as our CFO. She was with Lighter Capital and KeyBank. I'm happy to say we just landed Anupa Charles Pierre. She managed Hilton's luxury portfolio as a digital marketing executive. Prior to that, she was a digital marketing executive for Ferrari and LVMH. So we're really excited to bring her on board as well to help us with the branding. Erica Lill, who's joined here right now. She's a late stage investor for Caritza Capital and has worked with a lot of luxury real estate with Berkshire Hathaway's property division. We move on to the next slide. From an advisory perspective, we've added Rebecca Casaba from the legal side. Brandon Kex, I'm going to talk more about Brandon later because we actually ended up signing a deal with a 600 million asset fund. The short story is he loved our idea so much. He said that rather than just listing the platform, he said we'll offer a rent guarantee to any property owner who lists their product or their real estate onto our platform, which would allow us to quickly scale our business. And Eric Watson, he was with Sonder. Sonder went public this year for 1.2 billion, and all the real estate that Sonder has, Eric was the guy who brought it into the company and executed the deal. So when the company went public, he left, got a massive windfall. He's doing his own developments, but he wants to come back and join us because he realizes that Sonder's failure, although they were successful in bringing in the real estate, they're losing a lot of money because they're not able to charge a premium ADR. And the reason is because there's no service, right? And so he sees what we're doing and combining all the elements together, and he's joining our team. So move on to the next slide.
Jay, can you talk a little bit more about the rental guarantee?
Yes, I will talk about it. So I'll talk about what our solution is, and then I'll integrate that with the rent guarantee. Yeah. So what we've created, so the core problem after talking to everybody in the market was, they found it difficult to automate the supply chain, right? If you want to offer a service, you need to include services, amenities, and you also need the concierge all integrated together on a platform. So we went to work and we actually engaged the team that built out VRBO. They're the guys that are supporting our CTO, Jolene Reed, in building out our platform, which will be complete in January. And so what we have done is from start to finish, we've automated that process. So right from a reservation, as a traveler, if you go onto our platform, you could pick the real estate that you want to stay at. Then we'd also ask you a series of questions as well, right? So for example, if it's an anniversary, is there a special bottle of wine that you prefer when you arrive, right? Do you want flowers on your arrival, for example? These are all questions that we would ask them so that we'll make sure it's there. Do you need an airport shuttle, right? Things like that. Or do you want a pre-reserve a spot at a restaurant, right? These are questions we would ask. So that way, when they arrive, it's all said and done. Then it comes to the accommodation itself, right? So we'll make sure that it's a luxury listing that we have, and there's daily housekeeping, and all the services as well that's required to upkeep it while you're there. And lastly, departure. So we signed a deal with Tap and Go Technologies. So we have a rewards program as well for people that use and stay at our places as well. So that's what we've created from a tech standpoint. Now, to answer your question, where does this rent guarantee come into play? So we're a B2B2C company, business to business to consumer. So our client that we have is really property owners, right? They're listing their properties on our platform, but demand builds supply, right? So in order to build that demand, we've created this platform so that when travelers go onto our platform and feel that experience, there's stickiness that's developed. And because of that stickiness, you're able to command anywhere between $500 a night to $1,000 a night, sometimes even more if it's in certain locations. We're working on a property right now in 44 Hudson, right in Tribeca. You can command over $1,000 a night there. So the unit economics, if you think about it, a traditional rent, if you were to do it, would be about $4,000 to $5,000 a month is what you would make. Now, if you charge $1,000 a night, right, even at a 50% occupancy, you're now making 15 grand as a property owner, right? So where the Pensio guarantee comes in is Pensio will come in and they'll say, so Brandon, he said, he did the math and he's like, you know what? Through Lloyd's of London, so we created a new product, we can actually offer a rent guarantee to the property owner when he lists on your platform because he sees that upside, right? By having that program within our platform, right? So that's where the rent guarantee comes in. So he makes a piece of, he makes about 4.5% of the ADR. So that's what he takes. But why we feel that's a good opportunity for us is because, for our investors, we don't have to physically own the real estate anymore. So we reduce that risk there and that exposure. And number two, unlike Sonder, we're not paying aggressive rents. We can just go up to our landlords and say, you know what, I'll make sure that you're guaranteed rent, right? And so this way, we're able to quickly scale our business and we're keeping both sides pretty happy. Make sense? Move on to the next slide. So what's our tech advantage, right? Like why use us over our competition, right? So by automating concierge, by automating amenities, by automating the services, you're now able to command a premium. Sonder's failure and why they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars is because while they're paying an aggressive rent, they're only able to command about 100 to 150 bucks a night because there's no service. And when they tried to, and this is intelligence that I got from our Sonder executive, when they tried to raise the ADR to 300 bucks a night, the pushback that they got from the traveler was like, well, I just stay at the Hilton instead and get a full service. I can get housekeeping and everything. Versus with you guys, if you charge 300 bucks a night, I'm not getting any of that, right? So they're now charging about 100 to 150 bucks a night. And unfortunately, while their occupancy is high, they're bleeding out because they haven't added in the services, right? With us, by adding all those, the little things, right? Making sure the real estate's proper, making sure we have daily housekeeping and other services as well. Personal chef, for example, you're now able to command a premium, right? And so as a property owner, you're now making more money. Go on to the next slide, please. So what's your business model? Our business model is a rev share, right, on ADR. So the split that we've negotiated that people are very happy with is a 70-30 split, right? So 70% of the ADR goes to the property owner, 30% goes with us. Included in that 30% is the rent guarantee. So there is nothing additional that you would have to pay as a property owner. And in addition to that, you would keep 100% of the F&B and amenity profit. So say, for example, if you were to have a personal chef come over, now a personal chef would go for about 1,000 to maybe 1,500 bucks sometimes if it's like a 5-star chef that you have. Now the cost could range anywhere between 500 to 750 bucks, $50. That profit margin that you get would stay with the property owner. It would not go to us. So we strictly stay with the ADR. And the reason why we've built this model this way is because we're challenging ourselves to be the best we can. The better rates that we can charge, the better it is for the property owner and the better it is for us. Next slide. So what's our winning formula? How does this work? How do you get your property onto our platform? The first is we signed a deal with Neon Doves. It's a Seattle-based interior design company. They've won numerous awards as well. You start off with a design consultation, right? They will check your property to make sure that it meets our brand standards, and they'll make recommendations as well as to make sure that it's ready for listing. The second is the property then gets underwritten by Pensio, so they then offer you documentation for the rent guarantee, right? Once you've signed off on that, once you're happy with that, the next thing is the property is now listed on our platform, and the opportunity we provide to the property owners is it's a one-stop shop. So we do all the work, right? And you can just sit back and collect the cash flow. Next slide. So who is our target audience? So our target audience are property managers that are serving North American affluent travelers. That's who we're targeting, right? These are people that are willing to pay more for service, right? So, they're catering to tourists, affluent tourists, athletes, fulfillers, entrepreneurs, and executives. And we fill the gap for this target audience because their guests require specific travel requirements. They want service. They want extended stays for corporate travel, for family trips, and even romantic vacations, right? Which I experienced as well. It's a little bit of a disaster for me. I was like, staying at a vacation rental. I thought it was something nice. And she's like, oh, we have to do all the work. And I was like, oops, it didn't work out.
It's like a short-term triple net lease.
That's right. That's right. Except you don't call it a lease because on our financial statements, it's a rent guarantee. So there's no liability on our books. Works. Yeah. Next slide. So from our competitor matrix, you could see on the left-hand side, you've got Vacasa, Airbnb, and Sonder. They focus really on the real estate and just, making sure, they have and locked up the real estate so that, when people come, they'll stay at their place, right? So that's what they have. What we're focused on is we want to bridge the gap between both worlds. Like people want short-term rentals, they want personalization, they want curated experiences. Great, we can provide that with our short-term rentals, but also offer the services and amenities so that you can have a better experience, right? And with a better experience, it's better profit margins and everybody wins, right? So that's what we're bridging the gap for. Next slide. Okay, so what are we unlocking? We're unlocking a massive market opportunity. The luxury accommodations market is a $200 billion market, right? And out of that market, if we're looking at from Latin America, Canada, US, you're looking at a $60 billion market that we're looking to unlock, right? So it's a massive market opportunity. And some of the key catalysts that we're seeing is that there's reopening of economies now with COVID-19 starting to wane down a little. There's tremendous white space in the industry, over 85%, for tech-enabled services and amenities for short-term rentals. So this is why we're unlocking a massive market opportunity. Next slide. So what's our flywheel as we scale? We want to focus on, so this was really key, and I've been talking to numerous people, even in the audience today. We want to focus on sustainability as a part of our business. So that's going to be incorporated as well. We have a very diversified team, which is atypical sometimes in our space. I'm happy to say that on our team, we're actually pretty even 50-50 men and women on our side. And we also want to start focusing on other areas as well. So perhaps green initiatives. So that's part of our development agenda. We want to also focus on creating exceptional experiences for the traveler. Why? Demand builds supply. We want to improve, obviously, our unit economics, enhance terms of supply, and also invest into brand equity development. Next slide. So our roadmap, so what have we achieved to date? So initial app development and amenity partnerships have started, and we're actually close to being done. We're close to adding about 500 rooms by January 2022. And we're challenging ourselves to potentially add more with some of the partnerships that we have. We've executed an agreement with Apptunix to accelerate our development. Apptunix is the studio that built VRBO, and they work with some very high-end clientele, including McDonald's and other brands as well. So we're really excited to work with them and finish off the tech development, which should happen in about 6 weeks. We've executed an MOU with Tap and Go Technologies. They're based out of Ottawa, and they're going to be our rewards platform. They've signed a deal with Visa, and so we're going to be offering a rewards platform that's tied to Visa to our travelers from there. 2022, our goal for Q4 is to expand to about 1,000 rooms. Why that's a big number is because if you look at the valuations in the market, Sonder is valued at about $2 billion, and they've got about 5,000 rooms. So we're a quarter of the way there, and offering a better service. And then we're going to expand to, our goal is to challenge ourselves to expand to about 40,000 rooms by fourth quarter of 2025.
Got about 5 minutes?
Yep, we're almost done. So here's the ask. So right now, as investors, you're coming in really early, which leads to about a 200x upside. From now, we're doing a $500,000 save for sales and marketing, for operations, and also for engineering. We're going to follow this with a seed round, a $6 million seed round in the spring, when we're going to do our grand launch, followed by a Series A and a Series B. As a founding team, we've invested over $100,000 into the company as well to get it to where it's at right now. And we're looking to raise the 500K from friends, family offices as well, and with strategic partners to not only increase our supply of inventory, but also give you the massive upside that's there as well. And that's about it. I now open up the floor to any questions you guys may have.
Where's the technology developed?
The technology is developed in Toronto. Yeah, go for it.
Margins. Once all these that are done.
Yeah, so normalized margins, obviously in our first 2 years, we're going to be investing heavily into marketing, social media marketing, and brand development. But normalized margins, you're looking at hospitality type margins of 20% EBITDA is what we're looking at.
Second question, I think I asked you yesterday.
Go ahead.
Table. The logistics behind it. What do you do?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Obviously, the service.
Yeah, so our strategy, our rollout strategy is a cluster strategy, right? So we have clusters, one in Ottawa, one in New York, potentially in Miami if we're here now. So we're talking to a lot of property owners. And by having a cluster strategy, it improves our unit economics. So within a cluster, before we launch, we'll make sure that we have the personal chefs ready to go on call. We're going to make sure that the housekeeping is available, right? And other amenity service partnerships. So once that's all ready to go, we make the site live, and then people can start, traveling to those sites. So this way, we ensure that, there's no hiccups. Like you'd mentioned, but what if there's not enough chefs? We're going to make sure there's enough chefs. So that doesn't happen.
Who's in your team, who's in charge of that?
Jazz Poulin and Gurjinder Minhas. So Jazz built out luxury retreats. He was actually the operations and marketing guy for luxury retreats. So if you go to Turks and Caicos, Barbados, Mexico, that entire Airbnb Lux package, that was Jazz. He bootstrapped that company to a $300 million exit. He's going to be ensuring that we have that we have that there. And Erica will tell you, he's very, very meticulous when it comes to those little details. And so we're going to make sure that we have that for our guests. Yeah.
Me too. My first company opened at 23 was a luxury adventure travel company. I opened it with a copier and thumbtacked them up on Microsoft because there's a bunch of 20-year-old millionaires just like me. And I wouldn't sell the Beverly Hills Hotel because it wasn't clean enough for me. So I'm very, very picky about what's what. So I was the first invited and first virtuoso agency in Seattle as well. So it's from another virtuoso.
Yeah.
So there's big, everybody's exited on the team and this is being built to exit.
Yeah. Sir, you had a question?
Yeah, the 500, is that a convertible or is that a?
It's a
equity?
safe. It's a safe. It's a safe, so it converts into pref shares at an $8 million valuation cap.
And what kind of discount?
There is no discount, actually. It's just an $8 million value. So it's an $8 million valuation cap, though.
And what happens if you finance it less than that?
It will not happen. We're not going to be going for that.
Anything can happen. I'm, you know, I've been in this business for
Sure.
45 years.
Well, you know, we could talk about it, right? I mean, you know, if there's special consideration that you're looking for, we can always talk about it. But again, so far people are pretty excited.
So
with
what-
our team.
So people are coming in with a 500 are taking a financing risk on the follow-on.
Well,
And they're not getting compensated except for a cap.
they're getting a cap in pref shares.
What's the cap?
8 million.
And what's the time lag until Series A? This is the seed round, right?
So seed round is in the spring. Series A likelihood of be in the winter, fall, winter of next year.
Yeah, my big concerns about this are the branding, which I think is important, and the ability to actually capture the VRBO and Airbnb providers, right? Those are my two big, and so so my big question to you yesterday, maybe you can answer it again today,
Sure.
is what % of your customers will be existing, you know, VRBO and Airbnb and HomeAway people versus, you know, how many of them will be greenfields, people that don't use any of those services right now?
So we're targeting an affluent audience, right? So one of the biggest problems when we did, and we're all kind of within that network, right? That we face when we try to get a property on Airbnb, VRBO, or any other platform, is that you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what that experience is going to be like. You can get really lucky and get a great experience, but as you mentioned yesterday, you were staying at an Airbnb and all they had was a mattress, but they didn't really have anything.
That
else.
was the funniest thing in the
Yeah,
world.
so there's no quality control. So it's a hit or miss, right? So if you're the affluent traveler, and this is where the branding comes in, that's why we brought in Anupa from Hilton, who does luxury branding, why we brought in Jazz, right? Why we're invested so much into brand equity development is because we want to be that go-to place for luxury travel.
So I think that the issue is, I mean, so my question is this a pull or a push as in terms of ventures? Is this something, so the push is I'm gonna push all the VRBO guys to join my group and all the Airbnb guys, HomeAway guys to join my group. But the pull is I'm gonna advertise the crap out of it on the web, and anybody who uses, are you a VRBO? I can go on Facebook, I can create a campaign, I can advertise to every VRBO user in the world.
Right.
And who rents, every renter, and say, hey, make sure that you have our brand
Mhm.
attached to the rental that you're using.
But what prevents Airbnb and Verbo and all of those just simply saying, yeah, that's an opportunity for us.
I can tell you.
And-
IP, what's your head start?
They're
Yeah.
gonna
I'll tell
buy
you,
us. That's right, they're gonna buy us. They bought.
So there's two things to that. So Jazz actually worked with luxury retreats, right? And he worked with Airbnb, right? So they tried to do it and they canned the experiment because Airbnb is a platform for just real estate. That's what they are. They're a market for real estate. And when they tried to offer all the white glove services to all their properties, it failed, right?
No, but they could have a second brand.
Well, that
and
would be an
use their
acquisition.
base- And use their base
Acquisition.
to reposition.
The answer is that entrenched companies typically have a very hard time innovating, right? It's just a thing.
They would acquire us.
Right, as a matter of fact, I mean, think about the incentives for technology people. Technology people want to be on the guy who's gonna make the money, not on, you know, some $200,000 a year job where you're not even respected,
We
right?
can get back and do it, but my main problem is this deal, which is a small deal. It doesn't reward the early risk takers in any way, except, you know, that they're gonna get an 8 million cap, and if you don't reach that cap, they get nothing for the risk.
So what would be your,
I don't see why you just don't follow the norm
Mhm.
as a bridging financing.
convertible?
this is.
okay,
As a, instead of
It's not
safe, a
convertible,
convertible
it's
to me are
equity.
the same.
The convertible.
it's a safe.
So the
safe
safe
option.
basically dispense of the interest. So that bang goes the use of money and time
Mhm.
to the investor. And you got no discount.
Okay,
And so the early
That's right, there's no
investor
discount?
is,
it's a safe, it's with a hard valuation cap of 8 million.
Typically, a safe will have a 20% discount on.
Of course.
Yeah. A
This,
lot of safes have 20% discounts.
We're happy to discuss.
I think
that.
that's
we're
the
happy to
average.
discuss that. We're happy to discuss a 20%.
You know,
discount.
so the issue is that when you do a financing, you want to look like all the other financings and nothing different.
Sure.
I mean, it's just like investing in a hedge fund.
Sure,
Every hedge fund charges
Because
1% and 20, 15, whatever.
if you're gonna be, if you're sure that you're gonna be north of 8 million,
Mhm.
then the 20% discount doesn't matter to you.
The reason why I'm really confident is because if you look at the valuation, right, it's on a per room basis, right? Companies like Sonder are trading at $300,000 a key. So we're close to locking up about 500 properties now and about 1,000 properties there. So you can already guess what that valuation is. I know it's a really forward focused valuation, but we've dialed it down to about $8 million. And if you look at the strength of our team, these are direct people that have worked in our competition that we're looking at, that have joined our team and are solving this problem, right? So you put it all together, I think you guys are getting a massive upside from here.
Also, we're gonna have a name change and we're gonna rebrand.
Yeah, I understand all of that. But then, you know, the incentive for me is just to wait for the $8 million round or whatever your next round is and come in on that.
You're happy?
It's much safer
Sure.
and I get the same valuation.
No, it's gonna be a $6 million raise, so the valuation is gonna be higher, because we will have launched by then.
There's a risk that it could. You know what's gonna happen to the outside market in the next few months? Yeah, massive.
There you
collapse
go.
out there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It's very early.
It's
we
good
don't know
thinking.
what's gonna happen.
Anyway, listen,
But
this is a
that's also where the
fantastic
opportunity
conversation,
is.
and I would love to continue at the reception that we're gonna have with